This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Do you love NFL football fun and booze? Join us at Thirst and Goal Podcast every Saturday night for weekly NFL coverage, whiskey, bourbon, scotch, and beer reviews. We mix expert football analysis with signature drinks, original segments, and lots of laughs.
Yes, that's right, football fans. Please join us at Thirst and Goal Podcast by heading over to thirstandgoal.buzzsprout.com or search Thirst and Goal on the web. If you're tired of boring podcasts, come join our football party.
Greetings, Dogpound Nation. Welcome to the Two Green Browns podcast, part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. I'm John Cahill, joined by Neil Dunworth. You can check out all of our media output on brownsaccess.com. Before we start, please go check out our friends Sabo Apparel in Vermilion, Ohio, purveyors of the finest apparel in Ohio. Get online, buy their Support Each Other t-shirt. You will be helping out local families with that purchase. Neil, welcome to the show today.
Happy Easter, everyone. Easter Sunday, full to the brim. Well, I'm not full to the brim of chocolate yet. Would you believe I couldn't get an Easter egg since Thursday?
You went shopping yesterday.
No, I went Friday evening. Couldn't get an Easter egg from my other half. So she had to do with 2 Toblerones and a box of Lindt chocolate. So she did better than...
Yeah, I had a bag of Easter eggs here. Neil, you have to have, when you have small kids, you have to have the mandatory bag of small Easter eggs for the Easter egg hunt.
Yes,
which was a great success this morning. But anyhow, Neil, for today, we're going to have a quick chat about the goings on in Cleveland. But we're going to go through our first full proper mock draft of the season, and we're going to have the two of us are going to have a little rattle at a mock draft and see what way each other goes about it. But before we get to that, I suppose really the only thing popping up in the news recently has been a press conference from Andrew Berry on Friday morning.
Yeah, refreshing to hear from the GM. Sounds immeasurably calm with the whole situation, and I love some of the answers he gave back. And yes, I am still very much in the giddy home, the kind of the homer kind of situation with this, whereby I really like the guy. I like what he says. I like his thought process, and I like the way he even formulates answers to 99% of questions and things like that. But I thought he performed really well. Those phone conferences, they kind of, I find them cringeworthy to listen to, because there is, I would love if I was the communications guy for the Browns, each reporter would have to say their name first and be invited on to ask the question, because people talking over each other, stopping, talking again. It's it's very easily combated with just a small bit of etiquette. But and that this is coming from a guy who's been doing stuff like, those phone conferences and video conferences for nearly 10 years. It kind of really, it's one of my bugbearers. But apart from that, I thought that Andrew Berry was really, really smart. Came across really, really composed, as I say, and that's really what you want. And especially in these crazy times when, you're going to need to have somebody who doesn't get flustered by technology. And I'm sure that's something that's going to come up when we start talking about other things that he said. He really kind of just, reaffirmed the fact that we should be confident that he's got things under control for this draft.
And I suppose nothing terribly outrageous in the press conference. No real talking points. I suppose the biggest, I suppose, talking about was the left tackle, right tackle conversation really that came up. You have your own opinions on that, Neil?
Yeah, well, I think he initially answered the question that he wasn't asked. So I think the initial answer that he gave was to do with Myles Garrett coming off either side and stuff like that. And, that the best pass rushers just don't just come off the left or the right. So basically, I think the initial question he answered was that right tackle was equally as important as left tackle. And then he doubled back afterwards and mentioned that, yes, Jack Conklin played left tackle in college, but, he hasn't played left tackle in the NFL. So I think he kind of danced around the question slightly and just kind of slid in that part at the end. But Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I think there was awful lot of that was him not wanting to alienate a career right tackle in college like a Jedrick Wills, because he isn't in control of who's going to be there at number 10. And obviously, you don't want to alienate somebody that you may end up picking. You don't want to have something out there where he says, "Yeah, look, we're not taking a right tackle, or it's going to be very difficult for a right tackle to move over to left tackle." He has to say things like this, and I think he said the correct answer. Really, for me, it didn't cause too much hype. It didn't cause too much conversation points. Previous GMs may have given a more honest and forthwith answer and maybe created a soundbite, whereas Andrew Berry didn't really. He batted away nicely, he batted away confidently, and it was basically on to the next question.
Excellent, excellent. Neil, let's get started with our mock drafts here. So
Yeah.
let's get into the nitty gritty of it. So you just tell me. I'll let you start off and explain what mock you're using and your tactics for the day.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're both going to use two different mock draft simulators. John is going to use the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator, and just basically due to the fact that it has trades in it on the standardized version. And I'm going to use FanSpeak mock draft using Matt Miller's board from, I think it's the 8th of April. So I'm going to use Matt Miller's big board. So we're going to use the two of them. We're going to compare and contrast. The reason we wanted to do this is we didn't want to have the same algorithm putting out the same trade scenarios, the same pick scenarios, and so on. So we wanted to mix it up to see and to give it a more randomized feel so that both of our drafts aren't going to be particularly similar. And I think that's going to be good as well, because both of us have different drafting styles. Both of us have different I suppose we were prioritizing different things in this draft. And second of all, I think maybe I might be a small bit more conservative than John with my draft strategy. I think I've got a funny feeling we're going to see something like that.
I just want to make it very, very clear, Neil, that this is more of a what I would do and not what I think the brands are going to do.
That's
To be
okay.
very, very, very clear on that.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, I think mine is what I would do as well, but with a kind of a more conservative kind of conservative leash on this one. I think just knowing from our conversations off air, knowing what you want and what you value in a draft is it's completely different to me. So so as I said, I'm going to use Matt Miller's big board, and it's going to be full 7 round. I don't know whether I'm going to initiate any trades myself. I'm open to accepting trades, and when I click on in FanSpeak, the very first thing that pops up is I have 2 trades offered to me at the moment. One is from the Atlanta Falcons for pick 16 and a second rounder, pick 15 in the second round, and then I've got the Broncos for pick 15 and pick 14 of the second round. Obviously, both of those in exchange for pick 10. And I think in this instance, without even seeing the board, I would probably decline both of those and see if I could double back at the moment, because ideally I think I would like to take 15 and the second round pick, but I'll see if it's still available there. Knowing Denver, they probably won't. So I'm going to decline both of those trades, as I say, sticking with my conservative nature. So as the board starts to catalog down, obviously what seems to be a locked-in pick at the moment, Joe Burrow at 1, then Chase Young at 2, Simmons, Wirfs is off the board, Andrew Thomas is off the board, Okuda just goes at number 9, and now don't I look a small bit foolish for not taking 15 and 14 in the second round. So I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to try and propose a trade with Denver for number 10, and we'll see if I can get them to give me what they were originally offering. So pick number 15 and 14 in the second round. And of course, when I propose it, they say, tough. You said no previously, so we're not going.
Chance, Neil.
I had my chance, exactly. I had my chance, in fairness. I'm going to see if I can go back to them and get 2 third-round picks and pick number 15 and try and trade back. Because I think in this instance here, I want a left tackle. I want somebody who's played left tackle. on the board at the moment, just for posterity's sake, we have Jedrick Wills, we have Cleveland Chase on, we have Mekhi Becton, we have 2 linebackers and Patrick Queen, Kenneth Murray, and we have McKinney. We have all these guys still on the board. But for me, I think I want the peace of mind of having my left tackle. Jedrick Wills is a fantastic player. There's no doubt about it. But as I say, I want to get a left tackle that's played left tackle and that has experience of it, because, as I say, I'm a small bit more conservative in my approach this way, and I would prefer to maybe go backwards a small bit and pick up somebody if possible. So I'm putting a proposed trade in. Number 10 for pick number 15, and then pick number 13 in the third round, and pick 31 in the third round, and we'll see if this is accepted. No, they declined it again. So it looks like Denver have I've pissed on Denver's chips massively here.
You've blackballed you.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go right back to Philadelphia's pick here. So I'm going to go back to 21 with the Eagles, and I'm going to try and go back to 21 with the Eagles and get their first and their second round pick if I can. And the Eagles have accepted. So first and second round pick from the Eagles. Eagles took Zach Bond. Interesting.
That's an interesting. It's interesting, Neil, that the way you went into that there, you weren't expecting to trade back, and I have to say the way I'm expecting to trade back. There's 3 players. There's 3 players on the board here. There's 3 players in this draft that I'd probably stick at 10 for. So that'd be possibly Tristan Wirfs, Derek Brown, or Isaiah Simmons. I think they'd be like 3 guys that are game-changing kind of players. No one else I'm in love with at pick 10. There's no one else that have to have at pick 10. I think that's. Mm-hmm.
Would you believe that? Yeah, that was kind of similar to what I was thinking. If Derek Brown was there, I would have had a good think at maybe drafting him, but he wasn't, and I was kind of left with people that I would have taken maybe in the teens. But there's a reason why Denver didn't trade with me, because they went and they took Josh Jones at 15. They knew that I had my eye on him. So when I trade back to 21, Ezra Cleveland is still here, and that's who my pick is going to be, is Ezra Cleveland of Boise State. So,
and what pick you've picked him at 15?
I pick 21. I picked him at pick 21.
Oh, decent value there. Decent value. Right. So Neil's off and running. At pick 10, if those 3 players that I've just discussed aren't there, I'm moving. And a sweet spot for me to get back to, like yourself, would be Denver, not to move back too far. I'm offering Denver pick 10, and I'm going to be greedy. I'm going to look for 15, their third round number 77, and their fifth round 95, just to see what happens. I'm not expecting this trade to go through, but we'll try it anyway. Trade was declined, so we'll chance that again and possibly leave off the last pick. My theory, so this is trading back with Denver for pick 15 and pick 77. Trade was accepted. So I'm going back to pick 15 and picked up 77. My aim in this draft is to pick as many top 100 picks as I can get from my first couple of picks, and because the depth in certain positions, I think players are going to drop back. So when we get down to 15, we still have a healthy amount of tackles on the board here. We still have Becton, Wills, Cleveland, Josh Jones, Isaiah Wilson, Lucas Niang, Tego and Ego. We still have tackles on the board. I'm sitting here at pick 15. I'm thinking there's a bit of value to be had from moving back. Again, so this is the old double move back move, Neil, and there's a couple of teams I'm targeting here. Definitely targeting the likes of Minnesota here. Minnesota have a mountain of picks. Mm-hmm. So just be interesting to see if they'd be interested in shifting back. So if I offer them pick 15 and have a little look at maybe getting their pick number 22 and maybe try them for the third round 58 pick as well. Yeah, so got an extra third round pick there for going back another few spots in the draft. And at this point now, I'm on to pick number 22, and I'm going to make a pick here, Neil. Now this is working out quite interesting, Neil. We have the choice of Josh Jones and Ezra Cleveland at offensive tackle. And I think based on the value we're getting here, we're both picking around the same point. So you're picking, what pick did you pick? And you picked at 21, Neil, was it?
I picked the 21. You're picking at 22. Yeah.
I picked at 22, and I've got 2 extra third round picks for the double trade back there in that move. So that's kind of where I've been focusing my attention, is sort of getting back. And actually, do you know what, Neil? Just to stay with it, I think I'll take another swing here, and just to show the value that can be got for going back a little bit further. This isn't necessarily what I do. Well, actually, do you know what? We'll see what Miami have to say, because Miami have a hell of a lot of picks. So I'd be quite happy to step back to another four picks, to pick up. We'll ask Miami for their 56, a second and a fourth round. So pick 56 and pick 153 to swap back. Trade was declined. We'll just try that again, and we'll ask for a fraction less. So we'll send them pick 22. We'll take their pick 26, and we'll look for their pick 56, second round pick on its own. Declined. Right. We'll go once more to that well, and after that we might decide to make the pick 26, and we'll ask them for their 70th pick, which is another second round pick. Third. Also declined. So at that point, Neil, we're going to make the pick, and I think, just to be a fraction different from you, and to maybe go with a little bit more, I suppose. Do you think Josh Jones has more upside than Cleveland, Neil, or what's the positive and negatives between the two players there?
Well, Josh Jones has played for 4 years. He's been consistently as a left tackle, as is Cleveland. Ezra Cleveland has played. He's been a multi-year starter at left tackle as well. I really think it's just kind of both of them are pretty decent in the wide zone system. Josh Jones has played in the wide zone throughout the whole lot of college. It's really just kind of a pick of who you prefer more. Ezra Cleveland obviously blew the doors off at the combine. People didn't really expect that, but Josh Jones didn't exactly disgrace himself to combine either. So it's really a pick 'em, toss 'em of who you think is going to be better. Personally, I prefer Ezra Cleveland, but yeah,
we'll go with Josh Jones just to keep it just to keep the thing moving and to keep it slightly different. So just to show what can be got there. So the key difference there between myself and yourself at the moment is just to show that you know that trading back isn't necessarily going to be a bad thing, Neil. You know, like there's going to be tackles on the board there. So Josh Jones picked at pick number 22, and over to you, Neil.
So I have 2 trade scenarios. One from my nemesis, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos not only refused all my trade offers previously, but now what they want to do is they want me to give up pick 21 in the second round and pick 10 in the third round to move up to pick number 14 in the second round. And I willfully decline because the Broncos have pissed on my chips, and I won't be doing any business with John Elway and his big, massive horse's face for the rest of this draft. So Miami Dolphins, though, have given me a nice little pick to move back 3 picks, should I say, from pick 21 in the second round to pick 24 in the second round. They're also going to throw in pick 6 in the third. I'm accepting that all day long, considering that is my second round pick that I picked up from the trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I am going to accept that and move on towards this draft, where I now have pick number 9 in the second round and pick number 24 in the second round as well. So the draft starts off. Justin Herbert dropped to the second round. Wow, he went to the Colts at pick 2. Grant Delpit is gone. Jordan Love went to the Chargers at pick number 5 in the second round. AJ Epinesa went at pick number 7 in the second round. And in pick number 8, just before we picked, the Houston Texans and Bill O'Brien's train of weirdness has picked up Jalen Reagor, who would actually be a decent pick for them. So I don't expect them to make it in real life. On the board at the moment, we have players of the ilk of Antoine Winfield Jr., Kyle Duggar, Jeremy Chin. They're all still on the board. We have Jordan Brooks in the linebacker department. We also have Ross Blacklock, defensive line, and Marlon Davidson as well. Cesar Ruiz. I'm torn in this one, and initially I would normally always go with a safety here, but I think I'm going to play this one. I think I'm going to play, and I should I say, I think I'm going to play this one conservatively, and I'm going to just take Jeremy Chin. He's there, he's here, and he's one of the guys I really, really like. He's got a full skill set, and he's just that bit smaller than Antoine Winfield Jr. And I think that just from his size profile, I'm going to pick Jeremy Chin out of Southern Illinois, and that is my pick. So Jeremy Chin is pick number 9 at the second round. We roll on towards pick number 24, which I've just acquired from the Miami Dolphins. And that pick comes in. Who's still left? Okay, wow. We've got some trade requests. Bill O'Brien is ringing me. He's offering me a load of shrapnel that I'm not going to accept. The Raiders are offering me another pick load that doesn't look very enticing. So I'm going to stay pat at number 24 in the second round. I'm going to make a pick here. Now, Antoine Winfield Jr. is still on the table, as is Marlon Davidson, Ross Blacklock. We have Laviska Shenault. We've got Michael Pittman Jr. We have a lot of linebackers there that I think I might come back to with my I've got 4 picks in the third round now. So I'm going to come back to linebacker there. I think here who I really would like to pick is Marlon Davidson. Can play inside in the defensive line, can play outside in the defensive line as well, and could be a real natural successor to Sheldon Richardson if he was to move on next year, or he could actually maybe pop in alongside him as the successor for Larry Ogunjobi. Also, he can rush from the outside as well, and he can play the run there. So I'm going to pick Marlon Davidson with pick number 24 in the second round. And that concludes my second round picks. Over to you.
So in the second round, I am now sitting on pick number 41 and pick number 58. So I think based on positional value and players that are left on the board still, Xavier McKinney's after having a little slide. Her safety from Alabama, so I'm going to go based on the needs of the team and the fact that McKinney is by far the best safety that's left. I think there's a bit of a step. Neil, once you get past maybe Delford and McKinney and back that, like there's kind of like a little step back, I think, from the next kind of tier of safeties. Mm-hmm. So there's plenty of other players here. There's plenty of offensive weapons. There's some fantastic wide receiving options, which, if the board had fell other ways, if I'd have got to trade back my second time in the first round, I think it would have been more of an option. But at the minute, I think due to positional value and the way the board has fell and team need, Xavier McKinney is my pick at 41. Now, unfortunately, I'm not getting the board doesn't fall in the way that I would have liked with regards to getting the big shiny wide receiver, which I've so often coveted in these drafts. Now, I'm having a hard time. Yeah, maybe not such a hard time. I'm having a hard time. I'm wrestling here with what I should do and what I want to do. So at the board here, at pick 58, and I think it's about the time. I think it's about where he's going to be drafted. It might be a fraction sooner. I'm really liking Michael Pittman Jr. out of USC. Big target man, great hands, high points the ball, gets up really far. Really, really my guy here now for wide receiver that I've been looking at. I see lots of great options further down the board. There's definitely another few options I can look at. Now, another position, the two positions I really think I should look at is going to be defensive tackle and edge. So to see who's there. So on the edge at the moment, we have Curtis Weaver, Bradley and I, two decent edges. Curtis Weaver is a guy that definitely piques my interest. Also, Bradley and Nye there from Utah, someone that definitely interests me. And We also have Justin Matabuki and Neville Gallimore. They're the next. And again, I think after Matabuki and Gallimore, I think the defensive tackle gets very, very light. Because of the depth, the wide receiver class, I'm going to have to leave Michael Pittman Jr. there because,
Shock.
yeah, there's a couple of options further down that we can talk about with the next pick or two. And because I have accumulated 3 third-round picks, and think that's going to be the sweet spot for wide receiver. I think with edge and tackle, there's going to be they're fewer and further between. So I think for that reason, I'm going to go with Oklahoma, Neville Gallimore. I think he's very stout there on the D line, and I think he'll mesh up well with what we have there at the moment.
Take Matabuke, you coward. Take him, you coward.
Think the safe bet is Neville Gallimore there. So there's in the second round concluded. There is Gallimore and Xavier McKinney, safety from Alabama.
What pick was that? Number
58 for Gallimore.
58 for Gallimore. Cool. So we're on to round 3. For posterity's sake, I was offered a trade, but I declined it because it was just so unrealistic of a trade. Well, it was Mike Mayock was offering the trade, but it involved like a future second and a future third, and like basically swapping 7 picks in the third round. Just moving down 7 picks in the third round, and it was just so fantastical that I declined it because I don't want to take the algorithm for a ride because it was just too good to be true. So starting this round, Lucas Niang is the first player off the board in round 3, followed by Raekwon Davis. Malik Harrison is just gone. I have some more trades which I don't fancy taking. I've got enough trade backs done. I want to be conservative here. I have some good players on the board at the moment. I have Cameron Dantzler, Mississippi State cornerback, who apparently knocked almost half a second off his 40 time in a pro day that he ran, or in a kind of I don't know what it was. It was like a training session or something that somebody had a stopwatch, but I don't believe it. It just doesn't happen. So pull the wool over someone else's eyes, Mr. Dantzler. I have linebackers galore, which is fantastic, but I also have a safety that I wrote about for Browns Access, and somebody who he's not a sleeper or anything like that. I do think we'll double dip at safety, and Ashton Davis is somebody that I see here. Also Terrell Burgess. I think in this instance here, if Ashton Davis is still there at pick number 6 in the third round, that I would definitely have to pick him. Just double up there at the safety position. You've got Jeremy Chin, who's a taller safety. You've got Ashton Davis, who's rangy, who can play everywhere in the deep middle. And I'm taking Ashton Davis with pick number 6. Roll on then towards pick number 10. So I've got 6, 10, 31, and 32 in round 3. So we've taken Ashton Davis at pick 6. At pick 10, we still have a plethora, which is a great word, a plethora of linebackers. We've Logan Wilson, Jacob Phillips. We have, who else do I see down there as well? It doesn't really matter because I'm going to pick Logan Wilson anyway. So it doesn't matter. Logan Wilson is who I'm going to pick with pick 10 of the third round. We've got a bit of a wait until 31. So just going to wait for this to happen here. Here we go. Pick number 31. At pick number 31, there's some intriguing people. I'm going to take a couple of shots here with 31 and 33. I'm going to take a running back. I said leave the pause in there. I'm going to take a running back in the third round. I haven't taken a wide receiver yet, and I probably won't be in the third round. But I'm going to take a running back. I'm going to take Cam Akers out of Florida State. Has a lot of juice about him, has a lot of talk about him. He was running behind one of the worst offensive lines. Jeff Lloyd name-checked him, and he mentioned that he was running behind one of the worst offensive lines. I think we do need to get somebody in there, get him in there behind Nick Chubb, behind Hunt as well. Have a 3-headed monster even back there if needs be. The guys that we had, Hilliard, and Hilliard wasn't really up to it. And what was the other guy's name? I can't remember. It's just escaped me. There the returner. Can't remember his name. But Cam Akers would be an immeasurable upgrade on the two of those guys and could come in when and if we lose Kareem Hunt next year. So Cam Akers is the 31st pick of the third round, and I'm on to pick number 33. And I pick number 33. I'm going to take Curtis Weaver. He's still there. I'll give Ezra Cleveland a running mate from Boise State, and the two guys will know each other really well. They'll be able to settle each other in. Both of them will come over from Idaho and will become best mates, I'm sure, in Berea. And that concludes my third round, where I've taken Ashton Davis, Logan Wilson, Cam Akers, and Curtis Weaver.
It's the third round is a very sweet spot, I think, in this year's draft. I would, and again, I'm raging. I've 3 picks here in the third round, and I'd like to have had 4, possibly even 5. And again, just valuing where the picks have fallen in the draft. So where I am at now, Neil, I am at pick number 74. I have 74, 77, and 97 in the third round. Now, sometimes the board just falls in a way I wouldn't have made a pick like this as early, but the board has just fell, and somehow Clyde Edwards-Helaire has dropped to number 74. Now, in the running backs, after you get your Dobbins, Taylor, Swift, and Helaire, I believe Taylor Swift. Yeah, Taylor Swift, the running back.
Be a lot of fellas trying to get their hands on her.
I tell you. But for me, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is up there with the best running backs in the class. And I think he's taken a massive slide here to 74. And like Cam Akers is the next ranked running back on my list, and he's like 40 places below ranked. So the difference between in ranking from Clyde Edwards-Helaire to say that your next tier is like your Cam Akers, Zach Moss, Josh Kelly, Benjamin. Like there's a huge golfing class there. So I cannot leave Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the board. He's coming off the board with pick number 74. Now, pick number 77. What to do? There's some things that make sense, I suppose. Area of need. We have defensive end. I think the edge class gets a bit weak, even from this point on. There's a couple of guys I like the look of, and Bradley and Nye has just gone off the board, and he would be the last kind of in that tier of guys. But I think Zabri Zuniga, defensive end from Florida, had a good showing in the combine. Kenny Willekes, defensive end, Michigan State. I just think it's a fraction early for Willekes, and he'd be someone I'd be looking at more. These guys are you're more based on projections, but I'm going to take a swing based on position that we need in defensive end and a bit of depth in that area. So we'll have defensive tackle and defensive end covered in the third round. So Zabri Zuniga at pick number 77 in the third round. And now we're on to pick number 97 in the third round. And like we were saying before, this is the sweet spot. And I'm actually want to headbutt the computer just here at the moment. I had this pick lined up for my wide receiver, Neil. And you never guess, with the 96th pick, the pick before me, the Patriots just picked Chase Claypool.
I wouldn't have expected him to still be there at 96.
Yeah, because I was kind of playing around, but I'm not terribly unhappy because I have got my hands on one. There's several guys. I said Pittman Jr. is sort of my guy. If Pittman Jr. was here, I'd be taking him around this area. Couple of guys on the board here that do interest me still in the wide receiver. Van Jefferson from Florida, do it all wide receiver, great hands. He's actually a guy I'd really like the Browns to get their hands on. I think he's a guy that can play in the slot, can play out wide. Very sure wide receiver. I think he's going to have a very long career in the NFL. Antonio Gandy Golden, wide receiver, Liberty, another guy, go up and get the ball. Colin Johnson, 6'6", big target man in Texas. Now, the problem with the likes of Colin Johnson at this pick is you're not getting anything out of special teams on him. He's a big red zone target. Guy can go up and get the ball. KJ Hill, Ohio State is still on the board. So at that point, you're sort of looking at value, and the value's not there for the late third round, but we have one gem left on the board in the third round, right wide receiver. A wide receiver who's, I think, fallen a little bit in everyone's thinking because he was playing with a quarterback who offered him nothing, only dog shit all year, and a very good program. And I think he's going to come into the NFL and he's going to not surprise, because I think people realize he's a good talent, but maybe I think people are underappreciating him. Donovan Peoples-Jones, pick number 97 from Michigan.
DPGA. Yeah, Dayton Segura would be happy with that. He's very enamored with Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I think if you look at the value there, Neil, in that round, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Peoples-Jones, really good value for targets in that round. Zabri Janiga, I took the player because of the position, not because I love the player. I think it's a bit of a swing in the value area of things there, but it's a need that needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. So just to recap, you took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Zuniga, and Donovan Peoples-Jones with three picks there. Cool. We're on to round 4. Round 4, just getting the machine going here again on my side. Start. So Prince Tigwanego actually stayed until round 4. That would be shocking to me if that happened. Davian Taylor, linebacker, has gone off the board there. So we are wide receiver, and we're at pick number 4 in the fourth. We're pick number 4 in the fourth round, and I'm looking at a wide receiver, and I think I'm going to strike here because I think a wide receiver is someone that we would need to bring in. I have a big crush at wide receiver. This is actually a reach for him, but I think that Jarvis Landry will not be here in 2021. Not because of the player that he is, not because of the person that he is, but because of the money he's taking. And if he stays in the same contract, he won't be here, just from a business decision. And I would like to get somebody in that can do more or less that is him, except just with a different name. And out of SMU, James Prochet is literally, he does not drop the ball. He's got unbelievable, he's very good hands. He's very like Landry. He has no discernible top attribute. He just does everything really well, but he doesn't do anything brilliantly. Like, you look at OBJ, he's a burner. He's got unbelievable yards after the catch. He can put up his hand in one-handed catches. You look at Tyreek Hill, he's a burner. He's a burner whether he's playing the slot or whether he's in the outside. You've got Julio Jones. Julio Jones is an unbelievable route runner. He can high point the ball. James Prochet does all of those to a level just below those guys and does them seamlessly and brilliantly. And I'm going to take in James Prochet at this pick. It's too high for him, I would imagine, for a lot of people, but I just think I want to secure him. I've gotten some really good defensive people in already, and I'm taking James Prochet at pick number 9 in the fourth round. So over to you, John.
So fourth round, we only have one pick here. It's pick 115. A guy that's popped up there that I think we spoke briefly about on the show before. And I think, again, a bit of a projection, but I think of the guys that are in this class, I like the tools he has physically from what we've seen at the combine. Also, a position we could trade up, or not trade up, we could upgrade at, or we need depth at. Linebacker, Willie Gay Jr., Mississippi State. Decent combine, maybe not the greatest in coverage, but has the physical tools there. So with pick number 115, we'll take Willie Gay Jr. Again, not in love with the player, in love with the projections maybe. And, we're into fourth round, where in the fourth round, from the fourth round on, I start projecting a little bit more. You want to be getting players that have a fighting chance at the pro level, and I think Willie Gay, with the physical tools that he has a fighting chance at the linebacker position in the pro game. So pick 115, Willie Gay Jr.
Excellent. So as we know, Cleveland Browns don't have a fifth round pick, and in any of our multiple trades that we've both done, we didn't acquire a fifth round pick. So we skim over that, and we're back onto the round number 6. So 2 picks left for the Browns, provided that we don't trade. So with round number 6, it's the 8th pick in round number 6. So just looking at the run of the table that I have here in front of me, Willie Gay Jr. is actually still on the board for me here at linebacker. Also have such people like Laurel Murchison, Davion Hamilton. I've already taken Marla Davison pretty high, so I would be loath to take a defensive lineman here. We've got some cornerbacks who are very, very intriguing in Javaris Davis. Out of Auburn. Some people think that he might play safety. I think he's probably going to be a slot corner, and that's something that we need. So Javaris Davis could be somebody that I circle around to. I'm just going to take a look. We've got Harrison Hand out of Temple. Michael Ojemudia as well is there from the cornerback room. I'm looking as well towards linebacker. I have a very late round linebacker that I'm hoping is going to be there in the 7th round. So I think I'm going to hold on to that linebacker until then. Looking towards the safety room, there doesn't seem to be anybody really there either that tickles my fancy. I think I'm going to pull the trigger on. Let me see. Oh, I was going to take Javarius Davis, but he was just taking the round just before me, or the pick just before me. So I don't have the option of taking him there. This is going to be a tricky pick because a lot of the players that I really wanted are now gone, and this doesn't seem to be stacking up for me the way that I wanted it to. This is interesting. So in the 6th round with this pick, I'm going to take a. This is really interesting. There isn't actually anybody that I really want to take with this pick. Let me look and see if there's anybody on the offensive line. There is. In the 6th round pick, if I can get Jack Driscoll with a 6th round pick, I'm taking Jack Driscoll. Jack Driscoll, come on down. If you need to play guard, by all means, there's a guard position there for you if you want to fight for it. And if you need to come in as a swing tackle, I have no problem getting rid of Kendall. Of if you beat out, should I say, any of the rest of the tackles, that's fine too. Jack Driscoll, come on down. Pick number 8 in the 6th round.
Can't have too many tackles in there, Neil.
As I say, they're going to be a commodity because of the fact in the new CBA you have to have a good one. You have to have one in there, so you might as well have a good one in there. So they're going to be a commodity.
I think in this spot in the drafts where I'm looking at again, I'm looking at projections and looking at guys that caught my eye in the combine, and a position that I think we could do with a bit of depth in, because I'm not sure how the room is exactly going to work out. Tight end. A couple of guys I've had my eyes on there. Stephen Sullivan still on the board with for LSU. Not exactly sold on Sullivan 100%. But next on my list there, Dalton Keene, Virginia Tech, a big athletic guy, can catch the ball, pretty explosive. He's a guy I think that he's a bit raw, needs a bit of work, but could really fit into wide zone blocking scheme, and that could be if he's got and coached up, and he has the time to develop. So he's a guy that I think could sit in there and not play very much for the first year, and develop into something that we could play in future years. So I think Dalton Keene, of all the guys there, and again, my last few picks, I look at projection, and he's someone that there's a hell of a lot of upside and a lot to work with there.
Who was that? Did you pick?
Dalton
Keene.
Dalton Keene, Virginia Tech.
Dalton Keene. Brilliant. That brings us on to round 7 and the last round. And I have been keeping a little sleeper that I really like in the draft for round number 7. Well, there's actually 2 of them that I really like, but one of them has just gone off the board for me. Oh no, he didn't. He's there, but he's actually ranked higher by Matt Miller. But I'm not going to take him due to injury concerns. But that would be David Woodward out of Utah State as a linebacker. He hits anything that moves. He's just had terrible concussion issues. I think he did something to his back as well, and he's done something with his knee. So he's medical red flags all over the place. So I'm not going to take him. I would love to pick him up. He would definitely be somebody that I would be, paying over the odds for, I think, for an undrafted free agent spot for him to come in. He's a real hitter in there. It's just his medicals are just too crazy for me. But there's a guy from Illinois called Dele Harding. Dele Harding I haven't heard an awful lot about him. I've been doing a bit of study on the linebackers this week, and I'm hoping to maybe put pen to paper for an article on Browns Access in the coming week. Dele Harding is somebody that I've seen. He's been he's been comped to Elandon Roberts of the Patriots. So that might be somebody that you may want to look at. So there's been there's been some comps to him. He makes tackles after tackle. I think he had the second highest amount of tackles in the FCS last year, just behind Evan Weaver. He also had 3 interceptions and 2 interception return touchdowns as well. He's 6 foot, 232 pounds. He's going to, on opening day of the season, he's only going to be 22 as well. He is pretty good. His role is realistically, he's going to be an early down defender. He's not going when he starts off, he's really going to be there to defend against the run, but he does have the production to grow into defending the pass as time goes on. So I think between himself and Logan Wilson, you've got a nice little blend of what people can do, because Dele Harding doesn't miss tackles as well. That's something that's really, really good for him too. As a special teams player, he'd be plug and play. Because of his tackling ability, he will come in. So I think he's somebody that you could get absolutely everything you need from in the 7th round. Dele Harding is going to be my last pick for the Cleveland Browns at linebacker from Illinois.
That's a good pick, Neil. I think this is a sneaky area, Neil, where trading back for a couple of 7th round picks is not going to be a terribly bad thing. Reason being, you go like in most years when I do mock drafts, Neil, I'd always look at the last pick, and I'd look at quarterbacks that were left on the board with the last pick. Like for developmental quarterbacks and all that. So on the board at the minute, they're just like Cole McDonald, Hawaii, Nate Stanley, Iowa, and possibly Tyler Huntley, Utah, big guys that might pique your interest, but we don't need this year. At running back, Jermichael Hasty is still there, Patrick Taylor Jr., Memphis, couple of interesting guys there. At wide receiver, I think we've run the well dry pretty much. No one taking my fancy there. Also a couple of guys at tight end, Jared Pinkney, Charlie Tampano, Taumopeo, or I can't pronounce that, sorry, it sounds like it looks like an Islander type name. At tackles, I think the well is one dry at that point as well. Guard, John Runyon Jr., Michigan, has a lot of the pro traits there. As a project, someone you could be interested in. At center, another guy I've had my eye on. I've seen a lot of stuff online about him doing workouts that he looks like a bit of a beast. Gage Cervanka, center with Clemson. Also as well, another guy just O-line wise to look at there, Jake Hansen, center from Oregon. All those Oregon guys in the last few years, they've had a huge huge success there with their O-line. But there's 2 guys that sort of that catch my eye for this pick now at the moment, and it'd be a toss-up either or. And one guy, Isang Basi, cornerback, Wake Forest, very feisty player, has a lot of work to do, and as a project, a guy I'd definitely be interested in seeing coming in the door. But with the last pick that we have here, safety out of Utah, Javelin Guidry. Excellent shown at the combine, and great speed, and just based on traits alone, again, for a lot of the later round picks, I'm going to go with traits. I'm going to go with projections, and not necessarily sure things, because there are no sure things at this stage in the draft. So with pick number 244, Javelin Guidry, safety out of Utah.
And that concludes our first mock draft of the year. So just to have a quick rundown, guys, I'll give a rundown of who I have picked, and then John can do it. So just to remind everybody, I used Matt Miller's board on Fanspeak, and yeah, so that's what I used. And I initially traded down with Philadelphia in the first round to acquire pick number 21 and pick number 53. And with pick number 21, I picked Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State. Moving on to the second round, I also traded down with Miami to acquire pick number 21, to offload pick number 21 in favor of pick number 24 and pick number 68 from Miami. And with my two picks in the second round, I selected Jeremy Chin out of Southern Illinois at number 41 and Marilyn Davison of Auburn at pick number 53. In the third round, I selected Ashton Davis, safety out of Cal, Logan Wilson, linebacker out of Wyoming, Cam Akers, running back out of Florida, and Curtis Weaver, a defensive end out of Boise State to keep Ezra Cleveland company. Round 4 then saw me select James Prochet out of SMU, and with no pick in round 5, I went to round 6 and picked up Jack Driscoll, who I think would be it would be a tragedy if he's still on the board at that stage, but it would be brilliant for me because I would have got a very, very good player at that side. And pick number 7, Dele Harding came in from Illinois. Real sleeper, I think, in this draft. His tackle production is there. His tackle share is there. And he's got a couple of interceptions in there as well. I think he would be a superb special teamer. And I think we need more bodies in that linebacker room as well. If he can come in and if he can play against the run and early downs, fantastic. But I don't think he's going to be a three down linebacker just to start. So they are my 7 rounds for this upcoming draft.
Neil, is there any of those players you picked there you think that were very unrealistic in where they fell in your mock?
I think potentially Ashton Davis won't be there in round 3. I don't think that Jack Driscoll will be there in round 6. But then again, I don't think somebody's going to pick James Prochet in round 4, and I think he could be a little bit later in the draft as well. So I think it's pretty realistic as to where the players are that I've picked, maybe apart from Ashton Davis and Jack Driscoll being falling that much.
Yeah. I'm a little bit the same with mine. So in round 1, traded back to 15 with the Broncos to basically take the 15th pick and their third round pick. Then traded back again to pick 22 with the Vikings.
Yep.
And got their pick number 58. And with that pick, took Josh Jones at offensive tackle. If in a perfect world, I'd like to trade that pick again and got more picks in that third round area. Wasn't available to us, and with that, Neil, I'd have been picking a wide receiver higher at that point, because I think I'd have had more options for the mid-level tackles maybe at that point, the likes of Niang, Tego Wanego, or whoever, but I felt like my options were I felt like I ran out of road there a little bit trade. So Josh Jones at 22, I think that's about where he's getting drafted. I think that's about value. I don't think it's anything above or below. Second round, we had 2 picks in the second round, which are again quite valuable picks to have. Xavier McKinney, safety, would pick number 41. I don't see him going that far. I don't see him falling that far. But the value was there, had to be taken. And I think Neville Gallimore 58. I think there's a huge drop off with the tackles once you get past Madabuki and Gallimore. Maybe I think there's a big drop off. So I think with that pick, I think that's what trading back allows you to do. It allows you to take a player or two from a tier or 2 up than you would have had, and you're giving up maybe. Well, you're not so much giving up. It depends on how much you value Josh Jones versus Jedrick Wills versus Mekhi Becton. So that's really for me. I'd have the likes of Josh Jones, that a fraction behind that the top 4 in the tackle class, but not that much, a fraction behind. So it's an easier decision for me to make at that point. Round 3, I think, was a very productive round. Wasn't ever thinking of taking a running back in round 3. I was more waiting for an AJ Dillon. Booger Jr., whoever, to fall maybe 4th and 5th round and pull the trigger on a running back then. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire falling to 74th pick there, just too much value to leave on the board. So I had to go with him there. Jabri Zuniga, probably the pick I'm least happy with. I felt I was forced into taking him there because, again, I think we need to end on looking at mocks. I always say I'm going to take someone a bit further up the board, and that's why I try to accumulate as many second and third round picks as I can, because you try to get your hands on the likes of Zach Bond, or Gross Matos or Chase on or someone a bit earlier, and it gives you a bit more flexibility and to sort of move back. But I think that the flexibility was gone at that point, and I kind of felt like I was forced into taking him there. Donovan Peoples-Jones at 97, great ad. I would have preferred Chase Claypool, was gone a pick before. He's probably going to be gone by that point. Peoples-Jones, that's around, I think, where he's going. He's probably going second, third round, so can't really complain about that. Really happy with the third round in that regards. Round 4, pick 115, Willie Gay Jr. Again, I think you're starting to get into projections at this point. There were players at other positions that you could have taken. There were still tackles and guards on the board at that point that would project as more solid starters. And I think you have to start weighing up positions of need and stuff like that. So that wouldn't have been best player available there, but I think it was best player at position of need available at that point. And round 5, we had new picks. Round 6, Dalton Keene, pick 187. I think we will draft a tight end. I don't think we're going to go high. I don't think we're going to go after an Adam Troutman, Colt Kmet. I don't think we're going into the upper tiers of tight end. Tight end is an important position for this scheme. I do know that. I think they might see that they're set there now with Hooper and Njoku and all that. I'm not 100% believer in Njoku. I don't believe Njoku is a long-term solution in Cleveland, and I know that might be sacrilegious to say, but if they go down the road of getting in an Adam Troutman or whatever, I could see Njoku being an odd man out there. I don't see him being a fit in the team and the scheme that they're running. I really don't. I see him as an oversized slot receiver, really, who has issues with the ball catching sometimes. So athleticism to beat the band, but blocking skills just not there yet.
Don't at me, guys. It's all John. Mad. He's got a funny hat on and it's affecting his brain.
And the last pick, as I said, we're getting into near Mr. Irrelevant territory. I found, Neil, I have to say, that was an interesting exercise there. I found 5, 6, 7 guys I'd have happily taken, in that range. Jordan Fuller from Ohio State was still on the board there, at safety. I just noticed that there, he gets drafted with the last few picks there, but that is an interesting experience just to see how many are there now. So Neil, how many picks did you end up with?
I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You end up with 10 picks, yeah. That's good. I was thinking you'd have a fraction more. I end up with 9 picks there. And I think that's the way it's going to go. I think that's the level. I think what you're giving up from trading back at all, I think you need to get those extra 2 or 3 picks in there in a valuable area. And hopefully the second and third round picks, as I said, second and third round picks, I think are really, in general, I think they're very valuable. But I think this year they're just more valuable than normal. And I think that if you get the chance to trade back twice and still pick in the early 20s, that'd be amazing. That'd be the best case scenario I see for value.
Yeah, absolutely. Not ever too good. I'd be happy with either of those 2 drafts. Obviously, be way happier with mine. And I'm just saying that yours is good just because you're here. But yeah.
I think we'll have to put it out to the people.
I think we will have to put it out to the people you're on. Absolutely. We can do that, no problem. I'm looking forward to this draft. I'm working next week and I've got the full week of the draft off. This time last year, I think it was this week last year, would you believe, John, we did our very first podcast.
Wow.
This week last year. Yeah, and we have done I'll tell you exactly how many we've done. We've done 130 podcasts since. So there's been 130 times where we've said nothing, yet said a lot. And there should be laws against that kind of shite, shouldn't there?
Only feels like 129, Neil.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyhow, look, that'll do it for today's show. Thanks very much for listening. I'd be very grateful if you could all pass on the pod to your friends by retweeting and leaving a review. That'll really help us out. Follow us on Twitter, myself at JohnCal_IRL and Neil at 2GreenBrowns. And until next time, go Browns.